The storm began just as the van pulled into the gravel driveway. The tires crunched over the stones like brittle bones underfoot, and thunder rolled across the dark sky, echoing through the forest that surrounded the property. Inside the van, 4 figures sat in silence, each illuminated by the dim blue glow of their equipment. The air was thick with unease, the kind of silence that came before something terrible. "All right," said Marcus Hale, the team's lead investigator, his voice tight but controlled. "This is it. The Carter residence." Family reported screams, shadow figures, doors slamming by themselves, and one missing person. No one's been inside since. He looked at his team, Lena, the tech specialist, Ryan, the skeptic cameraman, and Chloe, the sensitive, the one who could feel things others couldn't. Lightning flashed, throwing the decaying mansion into stark relief. Its windows were black pits, its siding warped and peeled. The place looked more like a wound than a house, festering, waiting to swallow something alive. Ryan exhaled sharply. "You sure this isn't condemned? Looks like one good gust of wind could knock it down." Lena smirked faintly but didn't answer. She was already unpacking the gear, EMF readers, thermal cameras, spirit boxes. Every device blinked with stereo light, a fragile defense against the darkness ahead. Chloe hadn't spoken since they'd arrived. She just stared at the front door. Her hand trembled slightly. "It's not the house," she whispered. "It's what's inside waiting for us." No one responded. Marcus grabbed a flashlight, its beam slicing through the downpour. "Let's move." The inside of the Carter house reeked of mildew and rot. The wallpaper hung in strips, curling like burnt paper. Every footstep stirred the air, heavy with dust and the faint smell of something sweet, almost metallic. Ryan filmed as they entered the living room. "All right, we're inside. Time is 9:43 p.m. Temperature reading is 61 degrees. EMF's clean." A door slammed upstairs. Everyone froze. Lena checked the monitor. "Motion sensors dead, I haven't said it yet." Marcus raised his flashlight toward the staircase. "Hello? Anyone up there?" Silence. Only the steady patter of rain against broken glass. Then, a soft creak. Chloe's head tilted slightly, eyes glassy. "It's moving," she murmured. "Something's walking, up there." Marcus gestured toward the stairs. "Let's sweep the second floor." "Ryan, keep rolling." Ryan's camera followed them up, each step groaning under their weight. As they reached the landing, the EMF reader began to shriek, a jagged red line on the meter flashing wildly. "Whoa," Lena muttered. "We've got activity." The hallway was lined with portraits, all of them ruined by mold, but one stood out, a family photo. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, smiling stiffly with their teenage daughter, her eyes faintly blurred in the picture. "Daughter went missing," Marcus said. "Never found her." Ryan focused the camera on the portrait. "You think she's still here?" A whisper slithered through the air. Not words, something behind words, like a thought that didn't belong to anyone. Chloe stiffened, clutching her arms. "She doesn't want us here," she breathed. Then, the light bulb above them exploded. Shards of glass rained down. Ryan cursed, stumbling back. The EMF spiked to red again, the spirit box on Lena's belt hissing with static. A single word pushed through the interference, slow, guttural, and wrong. "L-E-A-V-E." Chloe gasped, her breath turning white in the air. "Marcus," she whispered. "It's cold." Lena checked the thermal cam, the temperature had dropped nearly 20 degrees. But worse, something was there, a shape, darker than the hallway itself, standing just behind Marcus. "Behind you," she screamed. He turned just in time to see the shadow collapse inward, forming a face, no eyes, no mouth, just a hollow void stretching toward him. The flashlight flickered violently. Marcus stumbled back, gasping. We got contact. We got. The beam died. Total darkness. For a moment, only breathing, fast, uneven, human. Then, a faint scratching sound began to rise. Nails against wood. From inside the walls. Ryan's camera caught movement, dozens of handprints forming on the wallpaper, pressing from within, smearing the walls with a dark, wet residue. Oh God! Chloe screamed. Something had grabbed her wrist, cold, skeletal fingers digging into her skin. She yanked free, her arm streaked with bruises already forming in the shape of a hand. Get out! Marcus shouted. Everyone out, now! They stumbled down the stairs, knocking into broken furniture and shards of glass. The front door loomed ahead, but as Marcus reached for the handle, it slammed shut on its own. The spirit box crackled again. This time, the voice was louder. Angrier. Y-O-U-C-A-M-E. Lightning illuminated the room, and for a single, blinding instant, they saw it. A figure standing in the corner. Head tilted. Eyes completely white. Its mouth stretched open in a silent scream that went on far too long to be human. Then, darkness swallowed everything. The last thing Ryan's camera recorded was a whisper, too close to the mic to be coincidence. Some doors should never be opened. And then, static. The footage from that night looped endlessly on Lena's laptop screen, grainy, distorted, and almost alive. The last frame froze on the pale face in the corner, its mouth stretching unnaturally wide. Rain hammered against the motel window. The team hadn't slept since they'd escaped the Carter house, if escaped was even the right word. Ryan sat on the bed, still shaking, his camera resting uselessly in his lap. It wasn't supposed to touch us, he muttered, his voice barely more than a whisper. It grabbed Chloe. It grabbed her. Lena looked up, eyes bloodshot. You saw the bruises. That thing was real. It didn't just manifest, it made contact. That's not residual. That's intelligent haunting, Marcus. Marcus stood near the window, staring into the storm. He hadn't spoken in nearly an hour. The reflection in the glass made his face look hollow, like something had drained the color from him. Chloe's still asleep, he said finally. She's not the same. Keeps murmuring in her sleep, something about the walls breathing. Lena hesitated. She could be in shock. Marcus turned. Or possessed. Silence. The word hung in the air like smoke. Ryan laughed dryly. Possessed? You've watched too many movies, man. We just got spooked. That's all. But even as he said it, his hands trembled uncontrollably. Lena rewound the footage again, slowing it frame by frame. The static hissed softly through the speakers, but beneath it, there was something else. A whisper. A word almost buried under the interference. She turned up the volume. Help, me. Ryan stiffened. Wait. That's not any of us. Marcus leaned in. Play it again. Help, me. The voice was faint, but feminine. Desperate. Lena's face went pale. It's the daughter. The missing girl. The Carter's kid. Are you sure? Ryan asked, his tone shifting from disbelief to fear. I ran the waveform, Lena said. That voice didn't come from any of us. The frequencies, different. Like it came from inside the static. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the thin walls of the motel. The room lights flickered, once, twice, then steadied. And then Chloe screamed. They rushed to her room. She was sitting upright on the bed, drenched in sweat, her eyes wide and unfocused. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been screaming for hours. She's in the walls, Chloe whispered. The girl. She's trapped in the walls. Marcus knelt beside her. Chloe, what are you talking about? Chloe's lips trembled. She showed me the way out. The attic, the mirror, it's not just a reflection. It's a door. Lena exchanged a terrified glance with Marcus. The attic mirror? Marcus repeated. We didn't even go up there. She wants us to come back, Chloe said, her voice suddenly flat, emotionless. She says it's not finished. Ryan backed toward the door. Oh, hell no. We're not going back there. We barely made it out alive. But Marcus's eyes had already hardened with grim resolve. We're investigators. We document the truth, remember? If that voice is real, we need to find out what happened to her. Are you listening to yourself? Ryan snapped. You're talking about walking back into a death trap. The TV flickered to life by itself. White noise filled the room. Lena turned slowly toward it. No one had touched the remote. On the screen, static. Then, faintly, a shape appeared. The outline of the Carter house, seen from the road. The exact same view from the van's dashcam. Then came the voice. C-O-M-E-B-A-C-K. Chloe began to weep, pressing her hands to her ears. She's calling us. I can hear her. She's everywhere. Marcus moved closer to the screen. It's her. She's reaching out. The static deepened, black streaks crawling across the glass like veins. The voice distorted, first the girl's, then something else layered beneath it. Deeper. Malevolent. C-O-M-E-B-A-C-K. O-R-W-E-W-I-L-C-O-M-E-T-O-Y-O-U. The motel lights dimmed. The sound grew louder, vibrating through the floor. Ryan's camera fell to the carpet, still rolling. Through its lens, the static on the TV looked alive, a writhing texture, like thousands of faces pressing against an invisible surface, screaming soundlessly. Lena pulled the plug. The screen went black instantly. Everyone stood frozen, listening to their own breathing. Then, from the wall behind the TV, 3 slow knocks. Chloe's head snapped toward the sound. Her pupils dilated until her eyes were nearly black. She's here, she whispered. She followed us. The knocks came again. Louder. Closer. Marcus grabbed the EMF reader from the table, it spiked immediately, blaring in his hand. The air grew colder. Their breaths turned visible. Then the whisper came, not from the wall, not from the air, but from inside their minds. Open the door. Ryan stumbled backward, his back hitting the wall. There's no one out there. There's nothing. But when Marcus turned toward the door, he saw it, the handle was slowly twisting on its own. Once. Twice. Then it stopped. A thin line of frost spread across the wood. Lena's voice broke. Marcus, whatever that thing was, it's not tied to that house anymore. Chloe looked up, trembling. It doesn't need the house. It needs us. Thunder crashed again, and when the lights flickered back on, the message was scrawled across the wall in dripping black letters that hadn't been there before. You opened the door. The next evening, the Carter house waited for them, silent, patient, as though it had known they would come back. The rain had stopped, but the world seemed darker than before. The trees leaned toward the decaying mansion like witnesses to something unholy. The ground itself felt wrong, soft, almost breathing. Marcus shut off the van engine. Nobody goes off alone this time, he said firmly. His voice was steady, but his hands weren't. We document, locate the mirror, and we're out. Ryan stared at the house through the windshield. We shouldn't even be here. That thing followed us. You saw what it wrote on the wall. Lena adjusted her headset, her expression hollow. Maybe if we find the mirror, we can stop it. Chloe sat silently in the back seat, her eyes fixed on the second-floor window. She's waiting, she murmured. Upstairs. The attic. Marcus looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror, she didn't blink. Her lips moved faintly, whispering something too quiet to catch. He tried not to notice that the bruises on her wrist had darkened overnight, the shape of fingers now nearly black. Inside, the air felt thicker than before, like breathing through ash. Every sound echoed too long, as if the walls themselves were remembering. Lena set up a motion sensor in the hallway. It chirped once, then glowed green. All systems go. EMF steady. No readings yet. Ryan filmed as they moved from room to room. Carter residence. 9:27 p.m. We're back to investigate the attic mirror. Suspected origin of the haunting. His voice trembled just enough to betray him. They reached the base of the narrow staircase leading to the attic. The door at the top was slightly ajar, as if waiting. Chloe stepped forward first. She said she's behind it. Chloe, wait, Marcus began, but she was already climbing. The wood creaked under her weight. Dust fell like gray snow from the ceiling. When Marcus pushed open the attic door, the beam from his flashlight swept across old furniture, boxes, and something else. A mirror. It stood at the far end of the attic, covered in grime. Its frame was carved with strange markings, circles intersecting lines, almost runic. Ryan zoomed in on it. That thing looks ancient. Lena raised the EMF reader, it shot to red instantly. There's your source. Marcus stepped closer. Let's document it. But Chloe didn't move. Her eyes had gone wide. She's in there. Marcus turned to her. What do you mean? Chloe pointed at the mirror. Look. Don't you see it? He looked, and for a split second, thought he did. Something behind his reflection. A faint silhouette. A girl, maybe 16. Pale. Eyes like static. Ryan's camera flickered, the image cutting in and out. I'm getting interference. Lena frowned at the EMF meter. The reading's unstable. I've never seen anything this strong. A cold wind blew through the attic, but there were no windows open. The dust in the air twisted, forming vague shapes. Hands reaching, faces flickering. Then the mirror rippled. Chloe stepped forward as if hypnotized. She wants me to come closer. Marcus grabbed her arm. Chloe, stop. Don't. The glass pulsed like liquid. A sound, faint and muffled, came from inside it. A woman's sob. Ryan zoomed in again. It's moving. The girl's reflection inside the mirror turned her head, slow, mechanical, and looked directly at them. Jesus Christ, Ryan whispered. Then the girl smiled. The glass shattered outward. Shards flew across the attic, slicing through the air like razors. Marcus ducked, shouting for everyone to get down. The EMF reader exploded in Lena's hand, sparks flying. Chloe screamed, not in pain, but in some strange ecstasy. She's free. Something cold rushed past Marcus, brushing against his skin, and for a split second, he saw her. The girl. Her hair floated as if underwater. Her mouth hung open, whispering words he couldn't hear. Her eyes were pits of static, swirling endlessly inward. Then she was gone. The air fell dead silent. Lena's equipment smoked on the floor. What just happened? Ryan checked the camera, the screen showed nothing but static. She's not there. The mirror's gone. He stopped. The mirror frame was empty, but in the glass shards scattered across the attic floor, reflections still moved. Not theirs. The figures in the broken pieces were standing upright, staring back, out of sync. Smiling. Marcus felt his stomach twist. "Don't look at them," he said. "Don't." But it was too late. Ryan's gaze locked on a shard. His reflection blinked, though he didn't. Then it began to mimic him wrong, twitching faster, mouth opening wider and wider until it split. Ryan screamed and threw the camera, stumbling back. It moved, it moved. Chloe began to laugh softly, her voice distant. "She's out. The mirror's just the door. They all want out." Lena turned toward her. "Chloe, what are you talking about?" Chloe smiled, but it wasn't hers. Her eyes shimmered like glass. "You opened it. Now they're coming through." The attic door slammed shut behind them. The temperature plunged. Marcus grabbed Chloe's shoulders, shaking her. "Chloe, fight it. Stay with me." She leaned close, whispering in his ear. "It's not Chloe anymore." And then the light went out. In the pitch black, dozens of faint voices whispered from every direction, echoing the same phrase over and over, overlapping until it was unbearable. "We're behind the glass." The last thing Marcus saw, in the dim flicker of Lena's failing flashlight, was every mirror shard on the floor reflecting not them, but pale, hollow-eyed faces pressing against the surface, smiling from the other side. The attic was silent. Too silent. Even the storm outside had vanished, leaving the air unnaturally still, heavy with something that felt alive. Lena was the first to move. She fumbled for her flashlight, her hands shaking so badly it slipped and rolled across the floor, its beam cutting erratically through the dark. The light caught fragments of glass, dozens of them, each shard reflecting movement that wasn't theirs. "Marcus," she whispered. "They're still moving." Marcus turned slowly toward the shards. The reflections within were shifting, slow, deliberate, wrong. The versions of themselves in the broken glass were smiling faintly, blinking out of sync, their mouths forming words that couldn't be heard. Ryan stood frozen by the shattered mirror frame, the camera dangling uselessly from his hand. "They're us," he murmured. "Why do they look like us?" Chloe, or whatever was left of her, turned her head toward him. Her voice was soft, melodic, and distant, like it came from the bottom of a well. "They're not copies," she said. "They're replacements." Marcus spun toward her. "Chloe, stop. You're not making sense." But the way she smiled made his stomach turn. Her teeth were too white, too perfect, like porcelain. "They watched you from the other side for so long," she continued, stepping toward the nearest shard. "Waiting for cracks to form. Waiting for someone to open the door." Ryan backed up, shaking his head. "No. No, no, no. You're not her. You're not Chloe." Chloe tilted her head, almost playfully. "You're right." The lights flickered once, and for a split second, every reflection in the attic moved closer to the glass, pressing their faces against it, their hollow eyes wide, their hands clawing from within. Marcus felt something cold brush against the back of his neck. He turned. Nothing. "Lena, grab the gear," he barked. "We're leaving. Now." But Lena wasn't moving. She was staring at one of the mirror shards on the floor. Her reflection in it was staring back, whispering something she couldn't quite hear. "Lena?" Marcus called. The reflection raised its hand. Lena did not. Then, slowly, it pressed its palm against the inner side of the glass. The surface rippled. Lena gasped as her hand was drawn toward it, like a magnet pulling iron. I can't, pull away." Marcus lunged forward and grabbed her arm, yanking her back. For a moment, something held on from the other side. The reflection's hand stretched impossibly far, fingers elongating like strands of liquid glass. Then, snap. Lena fell backward. The shard shattered into dust, and the thing inside it screamed. Ryan stumbled toward the attic door. "We have to go, Marcus. Now." But the door was gone. Not shut, gone. The wall was smooth where it should have been. Marcus spun around in disbelief. "No, it was right here." "Marcus," Lena whispered. He turned. Every mirror shard on the floor was melting into the wood, spreading like oil. The reflections were merging, forming shapes, heads, limbs, eyes, all fusing together in a writhing, glassy mass that began to crawl toward them. Ryan screamed. "What the hell is that?" The thing moved like it was learning how to walk. Faces surfaced in the liquid mirror, whispering over one another in distorted, layered voices. "WeseeyoU. WewanttobeyoU. Marcus dragged Lena and Ryan backward. "Keep your eyes on the ground, don't look at them." But Ryan had already lifted his camera. Through the lens, the reflection of the entity looked different, clearer. 1,000 versions of themselves, each one grinning, each one whispering something Ryan couldn't hear. He lowered the camera. The whispers didn't stop. They were in his head. The reflection of his face on the lens smiled, wide, grotesque. "Ryan," it said. "You're mine now." Before Marcus could react, Ryan's body convulsed. His camera fell from his hands, cracking on the floor. His reflection, however, stayed standing, inside the lens, smiling. Then the real Ryan stopped breathing. His eyes glazed over, his mouth twitching. For a brief moment, it looked like he was choking, then he spoke, but it wasn't his voice. Finally, it said. "Freedom." Marcus stumbled backward, horror freezing him in place. "No. No, this can't." The thing wearing Ryan's face smiled. "You opened the door. We don't belong behind glass anymore." Lena screamed, grabbing Marcus's arm. "We have to get out. We have to find another way." They stumbled through the dark attic, searching for anything, a window, a vent, a hatch. Every surface seemed to pulse, faintly reflecting distorted images of themselves. Chloe watched them, her head tilting side to side. "You can't run. You're already reflections. You just don't know it yet." Marcus spun around and pointed his flashlight at her, and froze. Her shadow didn't match her body. It was moving on its own, its arms twitching at different angles, its head jerking unnaturally. Then, slowly, it stepped away from her entirely, separating from the floor like peeling skin. The shadow stood upright, shape flickering, mouth wide open. The same hollow-eyed figure from the mirror. "Marcus," Lena whispered. "We have to go." The shadow lunged. Lena shoved Marcus aside just as it hit her, dragging her down. She screamed, her voice echoing through the attic as the thing crawled into her, through her eyes, her mouth, her skin. Her body went still. For one terrible second, she looked normal. Then she turned toward Marcus. And smiled. Her voice came out in two tones at once, hers and something else beneath it. "Don't worry, Marcus. You'll look just like us soon." Marcus stumbled back toward the mirror frame, breathing ragged. His flashlight flickered violently. Every reflection, hundreds of them, stared at him now. Some smiled. Some wept. But all whispered the same thing in perfect unison. "There's no escape from your own reflection." The flashlight went out. And in that darkness, he felt hands, cold, countless, reaching from the floor, from the walls, from the glass itself, pulling him toward the mirror frame that was no longer empty. The first thing Marcus felt was silence. Not the comforting kind, the silence here was heavy, alive, pressing against his skull like invisible hands. He opened his eyes. The attic was gone. He was standing in the same space, but it was wrong, inverted, colorless, and distorted like an image trapped beneath water. The floorboards glistened as though soaked in black oil. Every movement echoed too long, and every breath left behind a faint mist that didn't disappear. Marcus turned slowly. The mirror frame was still there, only now, its surface shimmered behind him like a doorway of liquid glass. Through it, he could see himself. Except, it wasn't him. The reflection on the other side moved slightly slower, smiling faintly, eyes black and empty. It was using his body. "No," Marcus whispered. His voice sounded distant, hollow, like it was coming from inside a cave. "No, no, no." He reached for the mirror, pressing his hand against the slick surface, but it rippled away, rejecting him. His reflection mimicked the motion a beat too late and mouthed something he couldn't hear. Then it tilted its head. And smiled wider. Marcus slammed his fists against the glass. "Let me out." Nothing. But then, faintly, he heard voices, Lena's voice, distant and muffled, echoing from the real world beyond the mirror. "Marcus. Marcus, are you okay?" He looked closer. Lena was kneeling beside his body, the thing wearing his face. She looked terrified. "Please," Marcus whispered. "Please don't touch me. It's not me." But the reflection turned toward her. And smiled. Lena froze. "Marcus?" "I'm here," the reflection said softly. "I'm okay now." Then it reached for her. "No." Marcus screamed, pounding on the mirror. "Don't." But she couldn't hear him. The reflection pulled her into an embrace. For a moment, it looked tender, until its mouth opened far too wide and the sound of breaking glass filled the air. Marcus stumbled back, gagging as he watched the impossible unfold through the translucent surface. Lena's reflection, not her body, her reflection, was being torn free, sucked into the mirror world like smoke. Her body dropped to the floor in the real attic. Her eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. And then her reflection stood beside Marcus. Smiling. He staggered backward, breathing hard. You're not her." The reflection tilted its head. "Not yet." He turned to run, but the mirror world had shifted again. The attic was stretching, elongating, twisting in ways that defied geometry. The walls bent outward, forming corridors of flickering reflections, infinite copies of himself staring back, whispering things he couldn't make out. He began to run anyway. Each step echoed like thunder, and with every echo, his reflection in the glass moved differently, faces morphing, twisting, smiling, screaming. He reached a hallway that shouldn't exist. Mirrors lined both sides, reflecting not him, but the team. Ryan. Lena. Chloe. Their reflections were all here, pale, trembling, mouthing silent words. "Help us." Marcus stepped closer. "Ryan." The reflection pressed its hand against the glass, leaving a bloody smear. "It hurts here," it mouthed. "So cold." Then its head jerked violently. The glass cracked. The reflection's mouth widened into a grin too large for its face. "Stay with us." Marcus backed away, heart pounding. No, I'm not staying here." He turned and ran again, but the mirrors were changing, each one now showing him in different moments, standing in the attic, asleep in the motel, screaming into darkness. Every version stared back. And whispered in his own voice. "You never left." Marcus's breath hitched. What does that mean?" "You were always here," another reflection said. This one looked older. "You opened the door the first time you believed." Lightning flashed somewhere beyond the glass, though there was no sky here. The entire corridor trembled, and a low hum began to rise, like the vibration of countless voices blending into one tone. The glass walls rippled violently, and faces began to emerge from the mirrors, pressing outward, stretching the surface. They weren't just reflections now. They were coming through. Hands burst from the glass, cold, slick, clawing. Marcus fought them off, their touch freezing his skin. He ran, stumbling through the warped hall, until he reached another doorway, a large mirror standing alone in the dark. Its surface shimmered faintly, and through it, he could see reality. The van. The woods. The world outside the Carter house. He rushed forward, slamming his hands against the mirror. Please. Let me out. The reflection on the other side, his doppelganger, appeared again. Still smiling. You had your chance, it said calmly. Now it's our turn. Marcus's fist struck the glass again and again until blood streaked across it. You're not me, he screamed. You're nothing. The reflection's grin faltered, just slightly. Marcus pressed harder, desperation flooding through him. The surface began to tremble under his touch. If you're me, then you can bleed too. He smashed his forehead against the mirror. Cracks spread outward like lightning. The reflection screamed, a piercing, glass-shattering wail that echoed through the void. The world around Marcus began to collapse, the mirrors folding inward, the darkness unraveling. He fell, through the glass, through the silence, until he hit something solid. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying on the attic floor. The house was quiet. The broken mirror lay beside him. Lena's body was there too. Ryan's camera, shattered. Chloe, gone. Marcus crawled toward the nearest window. Morning light was filtering through the cracks. Somehow, impossibly, he was back. He exhaled shakily, pressing his hand against his face. It's over. Then he froze. The reflection in the window didn't move. It smiled. And whispered in his own voice. No, Marcus. You never left. The light of dawn should have brought comfort. But in the Carter house, the daylight felt wrong. The sun filtered through the cracked windows like pale smoke, and every reflection shimmered just a little too long after you looked away. Marcus sat in the dust beside the broken mirror frame, his heart pounding in his throat. His hands were trembling, not from exhaustion, but from disbelief. He was alive. He was back. Wasn't he? He rose slowly, his every movement echoing faintly in the quiet air. The house seemed empty, but the silence felt staged, like something waiting to react. Hello, he called out. Lena? Ryan? Chloe? No answer. Only the faint creak of the walls, like the house itself was breathing. Marcus turned toward the window again. His reflection waited for him, calm, smiling faintly. He raised his hand. So did it. Then, just before lowering his arm, the reflection winked. Marcus stumbled back, gasping. No. No, no, no. He smashed the window with his elbow. Glass exploded outward, shards raining to the ground below. The wind hit his face, cold, real, alive. He leaned out. The front yard was the same as before, the crooked mailbox, the overgrown lawn, the van still parked out front. But the air was off. The birds were gone. No sound. No movement. Only stillness. Marcus climbed out and made his way toward the van. His footsteps crunched softly on gravel that didn't quite echo right. He reached for the door handle, and froze. Someone was sitting inside. It was him. Marcus's double turned his head slowly, eyes meeting his own. The copy smiled, calm and collected, wearing his jacket, holding his camera. The other Marcus opened the van door and stepped out, moving with perfect confidence. I wondered how long it would take you to notice, the reflection said, his voice identical. You made it back sooner than most. Marcus stumbled backward. You're not real. Oh, I'm real enough, the double replied. More real than you are now. The words hit like ice water. Marcus shook his head violently. No. I broke the mirror. I came back. The double laughed softly. You broke a mirror. You didn't break the door. There's a difference. It stepped closer. Its eyes gleamed, not black this time, but wet and glassy, reflecting Marcus's face within them. You don't belong here anymore, it whispered. You're a copy trying to be human. Marcus's pulse spiked. You're lying. The double smiled. Then prove it. Try to touch me. Marcus lunged forward and shoved the reflection's chest, and his hand went through it, cold and wet like plunging into thick water. The reflection flickered, then stabilized again. Marcus stumbled back, staring in horror at his trembling hand. The fingertips were translucent. See, the double said gently. You're already fading. No. It happens to all of you, the double continued. Once you cross over, the mirror takes something. A reflection is all you have left. You think you're alive. But the longer you stay, the less of you there is. Marcus's breathing quickened. He looked at his reflection in the van's window, his face was blurry, edges flickering like a poor video signal. He screamed and pounded his fists against the hood. How do I fix this? The reflection smiled sympathetically. You don't. But I can help you fade faster. The copy stepped closer, and the ground beneath it rippled, darkening like liquid glass. From the shadows, dozens of hands reached out, the same hands from the mirror world, clawing, grasping. Marcus turned and ran. The forest swallowed him whole. Branches snapped against his arms, cold wind burning his lungs. But no matter how far he ran, the sound of footsteps followed, perfectly synchronized, always one heartbeat behind his own. He stumbled onto a clearing. The air shimmered faintly around him. His breath fogged the air, but when he looked down, there was no shadow. Then, from the edge of the clearing, voices began to whisper. His voice. Dozens of them. Each whispering the same word. Trade. Marcus spun around. Reflections began to appear in the air itself, faint, transparent shapes, versions of him emerging from invisible mirrors. Each wore the same expression, calm, smiling, patient. You can't exist twice, one of them said. You're the echo, said another. Let us take your place. Marcus fell to his knees. I'm not giving up my life. It's mine. The reflections stepped closer in perfect unison. Their faces began to shift, his friends now, their eyes glassy, their smiles stretched too wide. Lena, he whispered. Ryan. Lena's reflection tilted her head. You left us behind. I tried. You ran, she interrupted. You ran, Marcus. And now the house wants you back. The air shimmered again, and suddenly, the Carter house stood before him, where the trees had been moments ago. Its windows were alive with light, pulsating faintly like a heartbeat. The door creaked open. Marcus shook his head, backing away. No. You can't make me go back. The reflections surrounded him now, forming a circle. Their eyes glowed faintly in the gray light. You don't have a choice, his double said, stepping forward. The mirror remembers. Marcus turned to run again, but his legs wouldn't move. His reflection reached out and pressed a hand against his chest. The touch burned cold. Marcus screamed as the hand sank in, not cutting, but absorbing. His vision blurred. His own face looked back at him from inches away, smiling with unbearable peace. Don't fight it, the reflection whispered. You'll feel whole again. Marcus's voice broke. Please, don't. The reflection leaned in close, forehead touching his. You already belong to us. And then, silence. Marcus's body went still. His eyes dulled. His mouth closed into a faint smile. When he opened them again, he wasn't Marcus. He was perfect. The reflection looked down at his translucent hands, now solid, real. He smiled, satisfied, and turned toward the Carter house. Behind him, a faint shimmer hung in the air, Marcus's real voice, faint and fading like an echo. "Please, someone, don't open the door." Then it was gone. The Carter house was breathing again. The walls pulsed faintly beneath the wallpaper, the floors trembled like the slow exhale of something impossibly vast beneath the foundation. In the van outside, the monitors flickered to life on their own, static resolving into faint, distorted video feeds, each showing the same hallway, from impossible angles, looping endlessly. And in the front yard stood Marcus. Or rather, what looked like Marcus. His reflection, now solid, now real, adjusted the EMF reader in his hand. It clicked and whined softly, lights flaring red. He smiled faintly, his eyes bright with a cold, impossible calm. Inside the house, faint voices whispered through the corridors. Lena's voice. Ryan's voice. Chloe's voice. They sounded close, but wrong, hollow, layered with static, as if playing from an old tape underwater. Down in the basement, a single bulb flickered on. Lena's reflection was crouched near the floor, tracing something into the dirt, a circle made of broken glass shards. She whispered words under her breath that didn't belong to any language. Ryan's reflection appeared behind her, holding an old crucifix upside down. His mouth moved in silence before sound caught up, delayed by seconds. "They're coming soon." Lena looked up. "Then we open it." "The door?" She nodded slowly. "The house wants them to. It always does. The living bring energy. The mirrors bring passage. The rest is feeding time," Ryan finished. They both smiled. Outside, reality began to fold in on itself. Cars passing the neighborhood flickered between existing and not existing. The world beyond the property line shimmered like heat waves. The sky dimmed, not clouded, not darkened, but peeled back, revealing faint, mirrored stars that pulsed like pupils. The Carter house was no longer just a building. It was a mouth. And it was opening. At that same moment, Chloe woke up. Her body was ice cold. Her eyes burned. She remembered, running, screaming, then falling through something soft and cold like liquid glass. But somehow, she was lying on the front steps again, gasping for air. "Marcus," she croaked. "Lena." "Ryan." The front door creaked open. Marcus stepped out, his face calm, his smile steady. "You're awake." Chloe stumbled to her feet, shaking. "Where are the others?" Marcus tilted his head. "Inside." There was something wrong about the way he said it. No fear, no urgency, just a slow, deliberate tone, like the words were chosen for effect. Chloe's pulse quickened. She stepped back. You sound different." Marcus blinked. His pupils reflected the sunlight, too bright, like twin glass beads. "You always say that." "What?" He smiled wider. "Every time." Chloe's heart dropped. "What do you mean every time?" Marcus took a step forward. "You never make it this far. Usually, you don't wake up." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the spirit box. The device crackled with static, but instead of random bursts of noise, words came through. "She's watching. Door open. Trade complete." Chloe backed away. "What door?" Marcus pointed toward the basement. "The one that shouldn't exist." The basement door stood open. Cold air rolled up from below, heavy and still, reeking faintly of rot and metal. As Chloe descended, the walls seemed to stretch, boards warping, lights flickering longer with every step. When she reached the bottom, she saw it. A door, impossibly tall, carved into the foundation itself. Not wood. Not metal. Something else. It shimmered faintly, surface rippling like liquid glass. Faces moved within it, faint, trapped, whispering without sound. Her breath hitched. What is that? Lena's voice answered from the darkness. It's where they come from. Chloe turned, and saw them. Lena, Ryan, Marcus, all of them, standing in a half-circle, smiling. Their skin was faintly transparent, as if light was shining through thin paper. Their eyes were full of reflections, infinite and shifting. Ryan stepped closer. We opened it once. We saw what was on the other side. Lena's voice layered over his. Now it wants you to open it again. Chloe shook her head, tears in her eyes. No. No, I won't. Marcus stepped closer, his tone soft, gentle. You already have. He reached out his hand. The spirit box in his other hand crackled, and this time, a voice came through clear. Her own voice. Help me, please. I can see me. Chloe's knees gave out. No, no, no. The door began to hum, deep, low, vibrating the entire basement. The glassy surface rippled outward, and faint shapes pressed from the other side, hands, faces, outlines of things that weren't human. Lena's reflection leaned down, whispering near Chloe's ear. Some doors should never be opened. Then the door exploded outward. Light, blinding, cold, endless, poured through the room. The screams weren't human. They weren't even sound. They were memories, played backwards. Every bulb in the house shattered at once. Every window burst inward. And in the chaos, the reflections switched places. Marcus's smile faded as he turned to glass, his hand reaching out too late. Lena's eyes widened as she flickered out of existence. Ryan's reflection shattered into dust. And Chloe, for a moment, felt herself split. She saw herself from above, from below, from every angle at once, her fear, her heartbeat, her face. Then she was falling, through herself. When she opened her eyes, she was standing in the front yard. The van was gone. The world was quiet. The house stood before her, untouched. Peaceful. And in the reflection of the front window, she saw her team behind her, smiling. Only they weren't smiling at her. They were smiling through her. Because she wasn't outside the house anymore. She was inside the reflection. Later that night, the local police arrived after a neighbor reported strange lights. They found the Carter house abandoned. The ghost hunting van sat empty, cameras still rolling, battery lights blinking red. Footage recovered from the scene showed the team entering the house at 9:47 p.m. None of them were ever seen leaving. The final clip, recorded at 3:03 a.m., captured one last whisper from the spirit box, a faint, female voice, distorted but clear. Please, don't open the door. Then silence. The feed cut to static.